evening, I'm Adu Wu. This is Newsnight. In tonight's special broadcast, we investigate currency wars.
Yeah!
What is it good for?
Absolutely
Nothing.
Yeah!
What is
We ask, what is the currency war? How serious is today's situation? And what are the consequences for the global economy? Tonight, we are joined by the Chinese ambassador to the UK and the US Treasury Secretary. Later, we will be live at the G7 summit, where finance ministers are in talks to avert a trade war. First though, let's have a look at what we mean by currency war.
International currency wars are triggered when some of the world's most powerful economies battle to remain commercially competitive. By devaluing their currency, nations are able to benefit from lower exchange rates, thus favouring trade. If a country's currency is weak, its export prices for products such as cars, telephones or textiles are attractive on the global market. At the same time, imports become more expensive, protecting local farmers and producers from otherwise fierce competition abroad. The current battle between the American dollar, the Chinese yuan and the euro has had a knock-on effect on other countries such as the Japanese yen, the Brazilian real, the British pound and the Swiss franc. But despite the obvious advantages, currencies can't all decrease in value at the same time, and if kept too weak, can become vulnerable.
Let's hear from our guests. Good evening and welcome, Your Excellency. The US Senate says China is keeping its currency artificially low, which is destroying American jobs. We are right, aren't they? Over the years, China's current account surplus to GDP ratio has been declining steadily, and there's a supply-demand balance in the foreign exchange market. There's no such thing as significantly undervalued. China will continue to improve the managed floating exchange rate regime based on the principles of sovereignty, controllability, and gradual progress. Mr. Secretary, let me ask you, given the dollar's fall in value since you began printing money, doesn't this mean that you have won the very currency war that you started? A policy undertaken entirely with domestic assets cannot be an act of currency war. That's absurd. The US and China have a shared interest in addressing global imbalances, including the lifting of exchange controls that distort currency value. But American products need to compete in the global market, and that has to be on a level playing field. Thank you.
And now for something completely different.
Competitive devaluation can be seen as an attempt to reinflate an economy by exporting unemployment and, if the elasticities are strong enough, improve a balance of payments deficit. There are a number of ways to devalue a currency, such as money printing, lowering interest rates, buying other countries' debt, foreign exchange interventions including currency pegging, and imposing capital controls.
So why is devaluation bad? It seems like it can be quite effective.
Well, imports become more expensive, citizens' purchasing power is reduced and domestic inflation can increase, and foreign-denominated debt becomes more expensive.
Is that it?
No, the fear is that other countries retaliate to negate each other's advantages, and that this descends into a wider trade war with tariffs and protectionist policies reducing trade and harming the global economy, as happened in the 1930s.
Historically, devaluation has been associated with weak governments, poor economies and the spectre of inflation, but in a demand-deficient global economy, it can seem quite attractive.
Arguably, currency tensions reflect serious global imbalances in capital flows and balance of payments. China, for example, has $3.6 trillion in foreign exchange reserves. After the Asian crisis of '97, various Asian countries determined to keep their currency value low to ensure export-led growth and to build up reserves to protect themselves against future financial crises.
Such actions are less contentious in periods of growth, as advanced countries enjoy cheaper imports and a higher standard of living. But in a protracted slowdown, such policies and imbalances look unstable and stoke fears of a currency war.
What's the answer then?
Well, I like Keynes's banker idea, but what do I know? I'm just a pirate.
Now we join my colleague Adu for the latest from the G7 Finance Summit. Woohoo! Thanks, Adu. I'm now standing here at the G7 Summit with the currency dispute dominating agenda. The Chinese finance minister is about to speak.
China is a very responsible economic power. We gradually relax exchange controls, gradually the yuan appreciates. Our current account surplus and US trade deficits are half pre-financial crisis levels. And yet, we are called currency manipulators, whilst the West are managing policy. We do not print money, we do not export deflation. Can our biggest trading partner say the same?
Absolutely. You Americans unleash a monetary tsunami, and we get the hot money and trade deficit. I can't export coffee now because it's too expensive. I mean, when's the last time we saw a Brazilian coffee in Starbucks, huh? You stop there. When our annual trade surplus of $50 million become $6 billion deficit, it's hard not to view the exchange rate as a main driver for Uncle Sam's policy. You want the 1930s again, sir? This is a currency war, and we will defend ourselves.
Actually, despite pressure to do so, the United States government has never called China a currency manipulator. And you, why are you even here? This is a G7 summit.
So how come these guys don't get cross with you too? You've done a lot of money printing yourselves.
First of all, why are you even here? It is the G7 meeting. But to answer your question, it is because we don't talk about it. We don't mention currency when we announce policy. This is the unwritten rule.
At least you and I don't have to worry about inflation.
Can I have everyone's attention, please? Since June 2007, 511 rate cuts have been made by the central banks worldwide.
That's just a terrible lack of discipline.
Well, Germany, I haven't even started with you yet. Try buying foreign for once, please. Anyway, we need to find a way out of this Mexican standoff before the journalists outside start posing us difficult questions about beggar thy neighbor and trade wars. Anyone got any ideas here?
Sort out your debt, America. Then we make renminbi as global reserve currency.
Excuse me, but I propose the Swiss franc as a global currency.
Well, things turning ugly at the G7. So there we have it. Currency management is very political. Are we in a currency war now? Well, it's a matter of opinion. But leaders don't like talking about them or dealing with their consequences. This has been Newsnight. Good night.
Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.